Tapping in.
Are we live?
Simone Biles withdraws from Olympic US, brother Miles. What you got on that for us?
I got a whole bunch of drops, man.
Are we live?
You know what I'm saying?
That energy. I like
You
that
know what I'm
energy.
saying? We said Simone Biles, but what we really meant to say was 4-time Olympic gold medalist. 19 that don't even sound right. 19-time world champion Simone Biles, the GOAT of gymnastics, withdrew from the Tokyo team. Well, actually, that's wrong. She withdrew from the team final and the individual competition, but she still on the team, and we'll get a little bit more into that later, right? But she withdrew from the team and individual competitions. She came out. She left after her first rotation on the vault and the uneven bars. I was checking through a little bit, doing the research, the pre-pro that we do for the show. There were different sources saying that she was avoiding some of her more difficult moves. From her, what she said was that she wasn't in the right headspace. She said she felt dizzy and that she just felt like her mental's not there and that she needed to focus on her mental health, that it was unsafe for her to continue to try and do the moves that she does, complex as they are. She has several moves named after her that nobody else can do. Several moves named after her that nobody else can do. Several moves named after her that nobody else can do. And she didn't feel right. She said it would have been dangerous. It would have jeopardized her physical health. Her mental health wasn't there, and it would have jeopardized a medal of any color for her team. So she decided to step away. And I think that is dope. I think that is mature. I think that, I'm sure that her teammates who got the silver medal, champions, also all of them, felt a way about that, and it's tough. But I think that as we look to the future, man, this is a landmark. What Naomi Osaka has done in terms of tennis, stepping away from some of the interviews and major competitions to care for her own mental health, will continue to set a standard of athletes caring for themselves. And hopefully that sets a bar that we arrange these arenas for these athletes, these showcases for them in a way that also caters to their mental health. NCAA, you know what I'm saying? NFL,
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? FIFA.
Definitely. FIFA. 2K, we're getting exhausted of the mental drainage of these 2K blowouts, dude. There has to be a support group for 2K, dude. I know dudes that take 2K very seriously. You stopped playing 2K after I destroyed you. Talk about the mental health that you faced over some of the whoopings that I've given you.
This podcast is going to be so long if I have to go back and correct all of the falsity in that statement. So we're just going to let that rock. We're going to let Zway, 2K champ, no cap, 10 games, you beat me 7, easy. King. But goated and goat of the goats and the goats and the goats that there's ever been, goated, Simone Biles, man. Listen.
Yeah.
I think that's dope, man. I think that's amazing. What do you think?
It is really dope, G. It is really dope. And I like how you brought it in with that, right? Bringing it in with the appropriate drops, bringing it in with the appropriate energy, because in South Africa, we have a saying, this is self-love is self-love, right? And even though one of those words is not English, essentially, it's there's 4 words and one of them is not English, but it's self-awareness is self-adoration. If you want to keep the same, onomatopoeia. That's not onomatopoeia. There's a word when you have the 2 A's anyways, all to
alliteration.
Say.
Ironically
Alliteration.
Enough.
Oh man, ironically enough, indeed. Anyways, it is to say that self-awareness is really we say over here, vulnerability to the vulnerable are powerful, right? We literally open up our show with that statement, just kind of acknowledging how difficult it is at a moment like that. Like she says, to be like, yo, listen, I'm not in the right mindset in order to be able to do this. I can't imagine, dude. I cannot imagine what it is to have something that I do so well that is so difficult named after me and expected of me to do in what is otherwise extremely precarious circumstances. Like we have learned the Olympics is. And if you don't know what how the Olympics is right now, check out our last episode on our YouTube. We covered that too.
Just layups out here, man. You know what I'm saying? Layup lines. We make it look easy. But what's not easy is everything that Simone Biles has had to face, man. What it takes to become a champion, an extra year of training as the Olympics get pushed back. She's already a little bit older than a few of her other competitors, you know what I'm saying, and decided to come back to the game for a variety of reasons, including she said that she felt like she had to return to the game in order to continue to have a spotlight and pressure on everything that's going on with Larry Nassar. So for those who don't know, Larry Nassar was a trainer, and he has been accused, and I believe he's been convicted on a couple of the counts, sentenced to life in prison, I believe, for pedophilic touching of the gymnasts that were in his care, right? And for having pornography on his child pornography at the crib. So this is another nasty man. And Simone is one of the few remaining survivors that remains active and is competing on the U.S. Olympic team. And so she felt like, well, I'll just take her words. She said, I just felt like everything that happened, I had to come back to the sport to be a voice, to have change happen. If there weren't a remaining survivor in the sport, they would have just brushed it to the side, Biles said in April, right before all of this transgressed. So imagine all the weight that it takes of being the number one athlete in the Olympics, which she is, the weight of carrying as a survivor, right, through this sport, which was directly related to the trauma that she went through, right, that of this man touching her, having to train in the same facility where she was touched by this man, right? To overcome all of that, be on the world stage, be the greatest, the champion, and like you said, be expected to perform several moves named after her that nobody else can do. And having the presence of mind and the maturity to know when to step away from that. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah. Thank you for those drops. And I think like that was the right point to touch on, right? With Larry Nassar. I mean, what could be one of the largest rape cases in US history. You know, the amount of women that he had access to. If you know the story about the camps that they used to take those girls out on, is extremely nasty stuff that these dudes were doing, that this guy was doing, and the people that allowed him to do it was grooming. The number of athletes that suffered at his hands is really innumerable at this moment, especially because in this podcast we understand exactly what women go through, right? If they say that there's 10 women, that means that there's probably a lot more who are pressured to yeah, and the only reason I say the number 10 is because that's the number of convictions that he has, right?
No.
But,
I'm saying we know exactly what women go through.
yeah. If it's a 10, then you know what I'm saying. It's probably a lot more. All to say, and we're not joking about it, but all to acknowledge the lack of the system that allows or incentivizes women to come forward with that type of information. And so for her to be able to play through that is particularly incredible. Bro, I know dudes that got beat up on corners that haven't been on those corners ever since. Now, imagine what it's like to go through what Simone Biles went through and then still having to perform tricks that are called after you, that are named after you. You know what I mean? That's extremely, extremely difficult. So for us, man, I think it's super dope that she was able to realize that about herself, put herself first, because at the end of the day, all of this stuff is temporary. All of this stuff, it goes away. There's champions now, there'll be champions later, but what doesn't change is who we are in the present moment and how we feel in that moment. So for her to recognize that and walk and step back, that is extremely, extremely difficult, especially with the money that's on the line, the expectation that's on the line. I'm sure her family is, dude, I did a TV show. I did a little TV interview, dude. I swear my whole family was watching, dude. I can't imagine if I'm going to go do this weight flip in Tokyo Olympics, who's watching, and, to have the strength to even look back at that support system, be like, guys, I know how much has been invested in me and whatnot, but my health comes first. I think that's absolutely big, man. And that's something that we encourage, and I hope continues to be accepted more in mainstream mainstream sports, bro.
Yeah, man. And for it to be Black women leading the way in terms of, yes, let's prioritize ourselves. I think that's amazingly beautiful, man. From Naomi Osaka to Simone Biles, as we mentioned, and swimmer Simone Samuel also took time after experiencing anxiety. Yes, put yourself first. I love it. And as always, man, the way forward is paved by. You dig me. You dig me. Is that the
Indeed.
bow? Is that the bow we putting on that current news segment, man? Because
Yep. It's
man,
time to talk about it, man. Which one do you want to go to first? You've had a buffet of good music.